What would Z's moveset look like? Welcome back to the channel, and I covered all of the characters that are in the data mines for the actual stuff that's coming out in Character Pass 2. So, what I decided to do was to continue the series, but with characters I would personally want to see either in Pirate Warriors 4 or in Pirate Warriors 5 or and so on and so forth. Again, disclaimer, Zephyr, Z is not coming to Pirate Warriors 4 as of this time, which personally is a very surprising thing considering, to me, Zephyr is by far the best villain in all of the One Piece movies. Shiki's really entertaining. Bullet's a real powerhouse, but he doesn't really have crazy character development. Uta's great, but not really like a villain. More like, she's suffering from her own type of stuff with the top music and all that stuff, and not sleeping because of the shrooms and all that. But Film Z is still, to me, the best movie. It is not the most action-packed movie, that is still Stampede, but Z is still the best movie, I think, to me. I don't know if that's any competition. If anyone disagrees in the comment section, let me know. But it's actually kind of a crime that Z isn't really in much of anything, really. Like, he's not in Burning Blood. Tesoro is. Which I'm speaking of Tesoro, he's alright. He's not my favorite, but Tesoro's in Burning Blood, but not Z. Z's on, I think, Treasure Cruise, obviously a mobile gacha game. He's like in I think maybe a DS game and a couple of other another mobile game. He's not in a lot of anything in terms of One Piece media, and I don't know if that's because he was unpopular, which I don't think he was, but it's kind of surprising that for a game like Pirate Warriors and stuff like that, which, to be fair, Pirate Warriors doesn't have much of the movie characters, which they're only just getting into with characters like Uta and stuff like that. But honestly, I'm kind of sad when I come to when I start thinking about it, because Z's a really cool, fascinating, interesting character who is a very much of a bruiser type, right? He's not too technical. He's kind of a point blank type of guy, and obviously he was introduced into the series at a point where hockey and stuff were just basically kind of visualized and kind of revealed to everyone. He was at a point, I believe, even before Elephant Gun or Elephant Gatling and all that stuff. So he was just right when time skip happened in terms of when he should be around, right? It's I guess technically takes place after Fishman Island, but Luffy doesn't use Elephant Gun not once in the entire fight or movie. But yes, he's a very cool character. He has a Battle Smasher giant arm. It's made of, I think, Sea Prism Stone, and it can launch bullets and missiles and stuff like that. I think it's really powerful, obviously, because he made it specifically to target people that have devil fruits and pirates, right? And basically anyone that's in his way after the tragedy that befell him. So it's a really cool weapon, and I think it would lead to some really cool visual kind of combat stuff if they were to include him in a Pirate Warriors type of game. Because honestly, I feel like he's a no-brainer for a Pirate Warriors game, because you even see him in the movie, which obviously in these clips, he's literally battling hordes and hordes of Marines, like it's nobody's business. Obviously, he got his little inhaler, but aside from that, he's literally just battling hordes of Marines a lot of the time. So he is honestly a no-brainer for a character slot in a Pirate Warriors game. But I guess they just haven't thought of him. Maybe he'll be in the sequel or in another character pass. But yeah, hopping into the first of 3 sections in these videos, the first being obviously what type would he be? And I feel like it's very clear he would be a power type. Now, obviously he kept up against a guy like Kizaru, and in terms of actually fighting him, but Kizaru did outspeed him in terms of getting away from him and making distance. So Zet is not that much of a speed type. Now, even though I think he would clearly be a power type, I do see the possibility of him being a technique type as well. Now, that doesn't mean a technique type doesn't mean that they can't be powerful. What I mean by that is a technique type like him would probably have to deal with maybe you had to reload, because in Pirate Warriors 3, Eneru had to charge up his lightning to get stronger attacks. So maybe Zephyr would have a certain amount of bullets that you would have to reload his gun arm, or the Battle Smasher or whatever, and he would have to reload it, and then you can launch even stronger attacks the less bullets you have. You're running out, so you have to either recharge or whatever. But I think that would be a way to make him a technique type if they weren't going to go just, oh, he's a brawler, full power type, whatever. But that's one way they can make him a technique type. Okay, moving on to combos now. Combos, I feel like he would kind of be a mixture of a character like Garp who's in Pirate Warriors 3. He's very obviously, hand-to-hand combat. He has a lot of wrestling moves. But I feel like he could also be kind of take some, I don't know, I feel like some cues from a character like Whitebeard, because I feel like Whitebeard has obviously this glaive. He has a lot of like shockwave attacks as well, like just sending like air and like kind of whooshing things forward, and hitting a lot of enemies with his like whatever it's called, the I forget what it's called, his actual weapon. But I think he would be a mixture of that combined like Garb's brawl like type of sensibilities with Whitebeard's type of like, I guess, AoE and range of attack because of the Battle Smasher. Because as you see in the movie, in these clips, he, like, the way he fights is obviously he fights really hand to hand. His name is Black Arm Zephyr. But like when he's fighting hordes, he kind of like does these like side swipe motion like type of things with shockwaves in them, and it just sends enemies flying all over the place. So I think that could be a really cool thing. Obviously, you would include his Battle Smasher in there in terms of like weaponry, because obviously he can shoot like machine gun type of bullets from it, and the stronger version, like the obviously you would also include stuff from the Battle Smasher into his combos, right? You would include stuff like the bullets, and the stuff where like the kind of like more explosive hits where he has a Smash Buster where it's pretty much like a point blank like bullet like attack where like he launches the bullet from you after grabbing you or like punching you with his Battle Smasher, and then he hits you with like an incendiary like shot and does a huge explosion, which you see in the background right now, which he does against multiple people in this movie. Did it against Luffy, did it against, I guess, you get a Vice Admiral or something that's up there, and he just that's a giant, and just kind of like destroyed him. Obviously you have the like machine gun version of the thing too, and the tornado and all that stuff, so which obviously we'll get into when it comes to special attacks. But I feel like you can include all of these like Battle Smasher things into his moveset, and he'd be a really fun character. Now the trade-off I think with him though is, unfortunately, I do not think he would be much of an air brawler. And to me that's mainly because he is a very, he's a brawler type character, but in the movie he doesn't really go in the air, like if at all. He's mainly like a ground fighter, so I think he would be one of the characters that don't really have a air combo game, and he'll just like jump up, maybe like a really heavy jump like Kaido, and just do like maybe a hit in the air where he'll hit with the Battle Smasher, and then he'll just drop back down. Maybe you could do maybe one triangle string where he'll keep himself afloat by firing bullets from his hand and stuff like that. But I don't think he would have that much of an air combo game just because of how he was in the movie. Obviously I could be wrong. If they decide to put him in the game, they could make him the fastest character known to man. Who knows? But personally, I don't think his air combo game would be all that special. I think it'd be really lackluster, but I feel like the trade-off would be that his actual ground game, much like Kaido, is actually insanity when it comes to like range, AoE, damage, breaking guard. You can even include the time he shot like Luffy in the shoulder with the Sea Stone bullet, if you want to include that. And like one of the combo strings is like a really powerful like guard break, which I mean you would kind of assume so because it's a Sea Prism stone, but I digress. Okay, going into special moves. Now, I have about a good like chunk of special moves that I can like throw out there as ideas for him. The first one obviously being Full Force Burst. Obviously every character gets one, so obviously he would get one, so that takes up a slot. I mentioned the little pistol shot as like part of a combo string because they're very, even though they took away some characters from Pirate Warriors 3 into 4, they still gave a lot of love in terms of like, little things that make the characters as fun as they are, like Garp falling asleep in one of his combo strings because, he did that against Luffy, or when he grabbed Luffy in Water 7. So I think they would include the little pistol shot either in, combo form, or maybe make it like one of the level 1 super attacks where he just, he just does a little quick shot, or maybe multiple, and then he just, it breaks the guard maybe a lot easier for all the tougher enemies. The next special attack I have is the Smash Buster. Now, obviously, I mentioned this one earlier as being part of the combo strings, but he does it a couple of times, and he does it one time a little differently. So, at the end of the day, Smash Buster is an attack where, he either punches and then the arm, like, shoots the bullet and then it explodes right from point blank. or in Luffy's case, he grabs him and then he does it. So they could have the grab form be part of the combo string, and I think that could be pretty cool, and obviously have a good range of effect. And then what they could do for the special attack variant, make it like a 3-star, make it maybe even one of his ultimates, where he just does like the punch forward, damages people, and then it explodes, damaging everything in front of him. So I think that could be a good version to have both, or a good way to have both in the game without having to sacrifice one or the other, because he does do it multiple times in the movie. I think it's a really cool move, especially like with the sound effects that the actual Battle Smasher has in Film Z. I think is really cool. Next one I have is the Smash Blaster. Now that one is pretty much the Smash Buster without having to be at point blank range. The Smash Buster is an attack where he launches the Smash Blaster, but obviously from point blank. So the Smash Blaster could be a pretty cool version. They could have a one where he shoots multiple, because there's one he did at the beginning of the film against one of the, I'm assuming, vice admirals or captains or whatever, and it hits him. But then you also have, I'm assuming this is Smash Blaster as well, because he charged it up when he's fighting Luffy on the, on the beach on the sand, and he does multiple of them, and they're much more powerful because he was barraging Luffy before that, and it wasn't doing nowhere near the amount of damage or explosions as when he upped the ammo and everything. So I'm assuming what he was launching at Luffy were Smash Blasters. So I think that'd be pretty cool if they incorporate that version from the beach into like a moveset, just shoot a bunch of, shells and bullets at people, and then boom, you have an ultimate right there. The next one I have in mind is the Smash Tornado. Now this one again could be another level 4, maybe even level 3, where he pretty much just again launches a Smash Buster, but I think this time into the ground, causing like a massive rise of dirt, sand, wherever it is, and just creating a gust of wind, like pretty much like a windstorm. And I think that'd be really cool. Obviously, it'd have a lot of AoE, and it'd do a lot of damage in a circle around Z, not just in front of him. So I think that'd be a really powerful attack. You could jump in the air for it, to do it. The next one I have is the Machine Gun. Now, this one is pretty much the thing I was talking about before with the Smash Blaster. In the fight with Luffy on the beach, he's just pretty much barraging a bunch of shots at Luffy, missing pretty much. But he's pretty much just shooting a ton, and I think obviously this is a less powerful attack. Could probably deal a lot of, damage to the enemy's guard and everything, and probably break it really, really quick. But obviously, really cool move, really fun. I think it'd be really visually pleasing too. The next one I have, it was the 7th one, but I know that each character usually gets around 8 special attacks. The next one I have is it's a pretty cool looking move. It's basically the move that he does against the Marines, which I mentioned earlier, where he kind of does a bunch of shockwaves and stuff just by hitting his surrounding areas, sending Marines flying everywhere. I think it's a really cool move, but they could incorporate that move because I feel like it's a very cinematic moment. He just steps out, he steps onto the beach on the battlefront, and he just starts wiping out hordes and hordes of people. So I think that'd be a really cool move. Or they could substitute that one and make the Dynastone that ultimate instead. Now, this one would be the one that he did, for me, in my opinion, would be the one that he did against Borsalino or Kizaru, where in the beginning fight of the movie, he crushes it, and then he basically shoots it at Borsalino, and then it explodes. And if you don't remember, the Dynastones are, they don't explode unless they are exposed to oxygen and stuff. So the Dynastones are really, really powerful, so I do think that could be another level 4, ultimate move. So I do think that'd be really cool if they implemented that. Before I hop into this one, because this one might be a stretch, but in the full force burst, I do think it'd be pretty cool if the animation was him, puffing his little inhaler that he has, where he kind of juices himself up to fight, where when he fights too much, he has to kind of take a hit. So I think that'd be pretty cool if that was the animation for that. But going into my last special attack, now this was kind of a stretch, but it's not impossible. If they were to add him, I think he would have a form change. Now you're thinking, what would change about him? Well, obviously, if you remember Film Z, at the end of the film, when he goes toe-to-toe with Luffy, and he basically sheds who he was, right? He sheds the, I am Z, the, captain of with bins and eyes and stuff like that. The outlaw, hating everything in the world. I want to burn everything down. And he becomes Black Arms Zephyr again, the sensei to all the Marines, and a more honorable kind of fight between him and Luffy. because Luffy, like, I guess punches it into him, right, through, standard shonen pro tag willpower. He brings it out of him. But in that moment, he basically, his arm explodes after Luffy punches it with a very powerful Gear 2 attack. And then the arm explodes, his arm comes out, and he, but they both, him and Luffy both hockey up, armament hockey on both hands. And like, Z does this really cool looking pose. And then they start duking it out hand to hand. Really sick moment. Obviously, he's going to be a power type. But I know you're thinking, like, what would be his special attacks? He only really fights a little bit in that form. Well, they do have one moment or a couple moments in the fight specifically with Kizaru and his last stand, pretty much. A very beautiful, sad ending to the film. But one of his special moves, I think, would be that giant, like, ground smash that he does. Another, like, one of his special moves would probably be, like, he was doing what looked like kind of like a Zangief kind of tornado move, I think, a little bit, when he was fighting stuff when Borsalino showed up. So I think that'd be a pretty cool move as well. Honestly, at this point, Zephyr kind of just becomes the Hulk, because every time he just raises both hands in the air, he just ground pounds and he's just destroying stuff, in front of him. So I think his third special attack could be an adaptation or a free, like, a game original type of thing, where they take this frame that I'm showing right here, right before they cut to his grave, and, adapt this move into something that's kind of like electrical. I don't know what is going on in this part, but it would be a really cool idea to maybe make this a move somehow, in some way, shape, or form. So I do think it would be really dope if they add that, and I think those would be his 3 special moves, because obviously, if you don't remember, form changes have 1 slot taken up by your actual, transformation, and then the 3 would be, ultimate attack, special attacks, whatever. Would it be a little funky that when he depowers, he gets his arm back? Sure, why not? Maybe they start him off with, the black arm, and then he powers up into, maybe the form changes having the Battle Smasher, but I think they wouldn't do that, because the Battle Smasher is too, I guess, iconic when it comes to Z. Like, when you think of Z, you think of him with the Battle Smasher. It's part of his character, basically. So, I think Z would be a phenomenal character to add into a Pirate Warriors game, whether it's Pirate Warriors 4, Pirate Warriors 5, or whatever game that comes out next for One Piece. I'm just sad that Z has, and even a character like Shiki gets mentioned in canon and stuff, but it's kind of like, it really sad that a lot of these movie like villains, even though I'm not a big fan of Tesoro, at least he got a Burning Blood slot. But man, like a character like Zet, like, oh man, he deserves to be in a good game, man. Zet is he is my favorite One Piece movie like antagonist / villain. He might even be a top 5 One Piece, or like, villain or antagonist. He's like up there for me in terms of like who Luffy fought. He's a very, very phenomenal character, and I do hope we get him in the future in a game in some way, shape, or form. So with all that being said, hope you enjoyed my new, I guess, quote unquote, what like would, not really will, because obviously we don't know. It's more like just a fan speculation thing. So what would series, and we're gonna continue on for here. Maybe we do Shiki next. Maybe we do King, Queen, whoever. You can also request in the comment section below, and I'll probably get to it. Just leave it in the comment section below. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and if you enjoyed this, because I will be continuing this, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.